Hey guys, Tyler Mahoney here, Truman Lake Fishing Intel here for another edition of the monthly expert guide roundtable dinner up at Mahoney HQ in Clinton, Missouri. We've got a great group of guys here. Jeff Falkenberry, Endless Season Guide Service. He's getting ready for duck season. We got Richard, Richard and Hunter both are also getting ready for duck season. So Richard Bowling's Guide Service, you can get a hold of him, and Hunter helps him out on the weekends. Got David Townsend here next to me from Just Another Crappie Bait Company. His wife Gina Townsend, her and him both own Nini's Italian restaurant down in Warsaw, Missouri, and they help sponsor these videos. And great restaurant, great food, great people. We enjoyed the hell out of it. We all had seconds. It was great tonight. So we appreciate them. Check them out because they do catering too. So they got a restaurant out in Warsaw and they also do catering. We've got Dylan Stocking of Get Outdoors Guide Service, and he is going full time here. Well, is it official or is it end of November?
End of November.
End of November. Okay, he's going full time on the guiding. He's been working with Crappie Masters for 6 years, and he knows the lake really well. And you can find him on TrumanLakeFishingIntel.com or Get Outdoors Guide Service on Facebook as well. And you got a new website, didn't you? You did an update. Yep. Nice. And then last but certainly not least, we got Dave Ryan. Dave's Custom Baits. He is a bass fishing extraordinaire, long track record of success. You've seen us talking about Dave Custom Baits ever since the website started. They are freaking crazy the way they move through the water. They catch fish. So be sure to check him out. He's got a lot of videos on the website. We're excited to do a lot more here over the next year. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I want to say is thank you to Anglersport Marine. They have come on board with us to help market their brands of boats. They've got Phoenix, Low, Camus is the new one that they've got coming on. So we're really excited about that. And shameless plug for everyone who's watching this. We are starting to look at bringing more guys on board for if you want to advertise your business. So if you are interested in that, reaching the Truman Lake Fishing Intel market, it's not just Truman Lake that we reach. There's people from Nebraska, Illinois, Oklahoma, Kansas that are members of Truman Lake Fishing Intel that follow this. So you're reaching a pretty big market. So you can reach me at the website and send in a contact page message and I'll get a hold of you. So appreciate that. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I want to start with David Townsend because he's been up to kind of some cool stuff with a really neat organization that I wanted to touch on before we got into the fishing. And I'm just going to let you run with it. Hope Outdoors is the name of it, but I wanted you to kind of fill us in what it is, what you've been doing with them here over the weekend, and why it's a great organization to be involved in.
The Hope Outdoors is a nonprofit organization. I believe they have about 11 chapters throughout the U.S. and I volunteer and help out with the Central Missouri chapter. And last fall I got a contact from the gentleman that runs it, and he told me what was going on, and I told him I had to help. I wanted to help, and what they do is they get special needs and ill or terminally ill children and some adults in the outdoors. Majority of the year they go fishing. I know they've gone catfishing, hybrid fishing, and with me and a few of the other guys they've done some crappie fishing trips. And then this weekend in Missouri it's the youth season, and a couple months ago Randy Thornton, the gentleman that runs the Central Missouri branch, asked me if I wanted to help out. And I was like, well, definitely. And yesterday, I had the opportunity to go out with a young kid named Parker. He has cerebral palsy. He's had a pretty rough life, and I didn't know how the hunt was going to pan out. We got in the tree stand about 15 minutes before daylight, and we filmed it, and it'll be out hopefully on the website and on Facebook really soon. But shooting light was at 7:16 a.m. yesterday, and at 7:24 he had a mainframe 8-point down. It was the fastest hunt
Pretty good hunt.
I have ever witnessed in my life.
That's awesome.
And all the hunts are done on farmers' properties that volunteer their property for the hunt. And I mean, it was an insane hunt. I mean, and I think they had 10 kids out this weekend, and I don't know the exact number after today, but yesterday we had 3 kids tag out, 2 bucks and a doe, and I haven't heard from Randy today, but I'm pretty certain that the way the deer have been moving in this area and up by Kingsville where I was at yesterday, the deer are on the move, the rut's already started, and it's pushing these deer everywhere. So these kids have been seeing a lot of animals, and I think it helped me more than it helped the kids, because just seeing their faces light up. I mean, when they catch a fish and they see that fish they caught and they flip it in the boat. And I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a 6-inch crappie or a pound 80 or 2 pound crappie. I mean, they light up. They don't think about any of the issues that they have in their life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like yesterday's hunt, Randy's like, big buck. And I'm sitting, I mean, from me to you, and Parker's father is sitting on the other side of Parker in the wheelchair. And we just looked at each other like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I mean, it was like it was scripted.
Yeah.
Shooting light happened, and that deer literally came out 15 yards from where we walked into the blind, and walked, checked a scrape, and it was over.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, it's an amazing experience.
It's meant to be.
Yeah,
that really is.
you know, and a lot of people came out yet this weekend and helped out. We had kids come in from all the way from Texas to do this hunt. They came, actually, that big group actually came up in June and did a fishing trip, 2-day fishing trip with us, and it's just amazing. And I mean, and it's great. It just felt good to help.
Right.
I mean, I did a few veterans trips, you know, in Illinois and out here, and I've helped Jeff and Richard with a few trips, corporate trips and stuff like that. And I always had a good time, but when you see a kid flip a fish or shoot a deer, I mean, you can't see their ears because the smile's so big.
Right.
And it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people from around the United States are helping out, like with the chair, the tracked wheelchair that Parker needed, the camera that helped, that goes into the scope to where they could help Parker line that rifle up. Everything, I mean, everyone just came together and helped out with it, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling to help out.
Yeah.
So,
Well, appreciate you sharing some thoughts on that. We'll, I'm sure, have some more articles and stuff up there at the website here soon about Hope Outdoors and what they're doing, because that's a really cool thing. And appreciate you sharing some of that.
anytime.
Let's get into the fishing. So we just wrapped up October, heading into November. Some of these guys actually had a really great October crappie fishing. Won some tournaments with some pretty, maybe not a ton of boats, but some of the best fishermen that there are.
That's the dude to fish against the best.
Right.
You know, when you got bad weather like that, all the big wheels show up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's more fun to meet them, I guess.
Right, absolutely. So, Richard Hunter, we'll start with you, because this was it last weekend or the...
Last Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Last Saturday.
And this was a charity tournament.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and how the day went and what you did to come out on top.
You want the whole story?
Well, it sounds like there might be some interesting details.
There is.
Okay.
Me and Hunter, you know, I haven't got to fish with him for a long time, and I consider him one of the better crappie fishermen. Whether you're live scope under rigging or whatever, because he's very versatile with fishing. So we get to he said, "Dad, we're going to fish this tournament. I'll find the fish, and you just got to be nice to me in the boat." But he didn't use that word.
Man can't sit down.
And he told me, he said, "We're not sitting down." When I'm live scoping, I like to sit down. I level that graph, it's shaded so I can see better. So we pull up to his spot, and he had some good fish found. He really did. So we're going through them, and we're picking them off, and pretty soon there's a great old big crappie there, and he said, "Chase it." Well, he's standing up, and I'm sitting down, so I turned right trying to chase it. I hit a tree, and he about went out of the boat. He's trying to catch it. And so that's kind of when we butted heads a little bit. He's headstrong, and I am too. He's got his ideas on catching them. I got my ideas. I can chase them in open water. When they're going through the timber, I'm not scratching my Phoenix boat up. So our Phoenix boat, he's scratching up. There's no letters left on that boat. I've got an old one. So I went to chase that fish, and I hit a tree about 3 miles of the boat. That's when we butted heads, and I set out. I said, I'm going to call Mom. You take control of it. So he chased a few fish around. He did. He caught a couple of nice fish, and I netted them, put them in the boat. And pretty soon the place just didn't pan out. They didn't have enough numbers there, big fish, to win the tournament. He said, I got another spot. And I said, well, I know where some big fish live, and I haven't been there in months. He said, I haven't been there all year. I said, let's just go try it. I said, give me 10 minutes in there, and if they're not there, we'll leave. So I pull in with the live scope. The first tree I pan's got a huge crappie sitting on top of a lay-down tree. And I mean a big one. I said, holy moly, look at that. And I said, yeah, I told you. So I jacked with that fish. I never did catch that fish, but we went down through there and seen a bunch of big ones. The stake beds that were there were plumb full of fish, and not all big fish, but some good ones. And when we left the spot that he had picked, we had probably 9 pounds in the boat, which is not bad for a bad day of fishing. But we got up to the end of that, where the flat kind of started, was on a channel swing where the flat started, and I had a 179 or a 182. He's back there weighing it. He said, that made 182, and I said, got another, it's a 191. And then I think he caught a 179, just boom, 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 in like 5 minutes. So then the button heads is done, and then it's game on. Then we're fishing. So we did end up winning the tournament, but our fault that we made, we fished up to a patch of timber, and we kind of run out of the big fish after we caught them 3 big ones right together. Turned around and went back through it, and we didn't catch, I think we upgraded 1 fish. Got back to that timber, we had 30 minutes left, and I'm telling you what, every single tree had a giant crappie stuck to it. Yeah. And we had some of them on, and I think we got one more something, but we had almost 13 pounds of fish. This time of year is not bad for 7 crappie.
It was a good day fishing, and I will say one thing, like fishing with him, we're both used to running the trolling motor by ourselves and doing our own thing, but one thing I did learn from him that, and it's hard for me to even say, I learned something, but it's hard. But, those crappie, they'd come up to that minnow, they'd chase it around, they didn't act real active, they didn't want to eat it. So he'd take that minnow, slap it on top of his graph or top of the shield he's got on it, and it kind of stunned that minnow, and those crappie would bite it. It's a pretty cool thing to learn from him. Nothing I would think of ever, I know that.
A lot of, I use jigs this time of year quite a bit.
Yeah, we use some of Dave's jigs. Yeah, I use Dave's jigs, sure.
But they wanted that minnow more, but that minnow, that sinker, you got it here, and the crappie would actually come up to that minnow, and the minnow would go up here, and the crappie would come up, then the minnow would go down here. Yeah. Honestly, you sit and watch on that live scope, and it does this about 3 times, the fish just loses interest and go. I said, watch this. So I take that little, and sorry for anybody that don't like this, but I took that little, and would hit it, and it would sit and stun it, but when you drop it in the water, it can't run from that fish.
And it works.
You drop it in there, and they eat it every time.
Yeah.
There's something cool
So,
to learn.
he learned 2 things, I think. Sitting down, eye level with that graph, you can sit so much better.
We started the day, I told him, I said, I'm not sitting down fishing. All right? So we're sitting there alone in the boat that morning, and he gives out, there's 1 chair in the back of my truck. I said, Dad, why is there only 1 chair? Well, you don't want to sit down. So we put the 1 chair in the boat, and by the end of the day, I got my cooler up there sitting right next to it. It was fun to fish with him, but, we butted heads a little bit, but, I don't know. Down the road will be good.
One of these days, him and I will fish tournaments together.
Yeah.
My partner's up in years, and I don't know how long he's going to stay with me, but
Uh-huh.
when he retires, then Hunter and I'll take over. And as long as we're going to have a contract, no button heads. Listen,
30 minutes we waste that day butting heads. If it wasn't for that, it'd be even better.
it was to the point that he went and sit down and faced the back of the boat. I'll fish. I just up there fishing. But we had fun. The fish bit good. Them fish were on his fish that he had found was on the main lake flat. 8 foot of water out to 12 foot, down 6 feet.
And
Every single one.
nose right at the tree. Every crappie we caught was nose to the tree, pretty much. It was
We
stake
caught
bed.
1 or 2 roaming fish. The rest of them was all no fish. And they're still that way. But now that I'm fishing creeks, then when we left his spot, I went to a channel swing, and it was very good starting on the swing. And on the inside of that, which the swing was in about 14 feet, but up on the flat was about 8 to 9 feet. good fishing, but when we got up to that flat, when we got in the 6 or 8 foot to 12 foot, that's when it really got good.
Mm-hmm.
So, bite is great. I'm fishing creeks now. Dylan's fishing creeks. We looked at each other today. We're just swinging them in. We're 100 yards apart probably, and got to see each other and got a lot of
You don't have to go very
creeks.
far to
You
catch
can
it.
still catch them on the flats, but right now is what we're running into is all the wind.
Mm.
So get out of that wind, get in them creeks, get on the flat side, and just go to town.
Yeah. And this is, you guys I know stick to the Upper Grand quite a bit. Would this pattern hold true all over the lake? Osage, Tebow, Tommy?
Oh yeah, it will. Now what I'll do here after November, probably December, the water gets cooler. I will go to the clean water down by the dam.
Mm.
And fish a bunch up. You can sit on one school of fish and catch your limit. You don't have to run around much.
So back to the tournament. You guys finished with how much? 12 point something?
12.88.
Yeah.
Wow. What was the big fish?
208.
Ours was 208.
I got a 2-pounder.
Yeah, and then
2-pounder.
212, one big fish. I
Twelve.
think it's 212.
Big fish.
But I will tell you that we looked at more than 14 pounds of fish.
Mhm.
Easy.
And another thing,
Definitely.
fishing that tournament is very cool for a good cause, you know. Your wife put it on, I guess,
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
And we did win, and we was up on our little stage, and I looked at Hunter, I said, what are we gonna do with this money? Which I wanted to give it back.
Mhm.
We talked, last year we fished it, and I don't know that we fished in the money, it was close. He said, let's give it back. So we won $400 and donated it back.
That's awesome.
Good deal.
Well, and it sounds like the crappie were kind of replenishing themselves.
Oh, so
throughout the
They
day.
just kind of moved in there, It's,
unreal. You take one off the tree, and you go and you come back and there's another one stuck to that tree, same spot.
And is that just something that in the fall time they're moving up on the shad a lot,
Yeah.
and that's
There's
just
a
why
lot of
that
bait
is?
fish there, but a lot of these baits are getting real big now.
Mm-hmm.
And now then you get that little minnow, or I'm using a 2-inch hair jig a lot, and they're eating that like far.
Mm. Okay, that's friggin' awesome.
Dylan took second in that tournament, too. He was
Yeah.
a boy.
Yeah. Well,
I
Dylan.
watched them all day. They didn't move much. I'm in trouble.
I told Hunter, Mike, and Valentine had pulled in and fished a snake bed and trees over there by the same spot.
Right.
And he'd just left, and then I seen you go. I said, "Isn't that the same spot Mike was just at?" He said, "Yep." I said, "Oh boy."
So, Dylan, that brings us to you because you just won a tournament too, and wanted you to kind of fill us in on your experience that day, what you were doing, how it differs or
It was-
similarities.
The week before was a little different. They weren't stacked up like they were last week. I guess 2 weeks ago was when I won that tournament, and I did a lot of running, and I didn't get to pre-fish up on that end. Everybody's like, "Oh, you fish every day," and putting 7, 8 big fish in the boat's a lot different than putting 45 in the boat.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just went up there, and those fish have been hanging in the same general areas for 3 or 4 months now. So I just went fishing, and I knew, and the wind was going to get bad, so I knew I had 2 spots I could hit real quick before the wind got bad, and I started there and caught one good, in each spot it seemed like I caught a good one where I needed to, and I just kept digging all day, and I fished 9 or 10 different areas probably, and caught a decent one out of each area, and kept going, and ended up winning that tournament somehow. And then the next week it was totally opposite. I went to those same areas and nothing was happening except for in one area, and they were just loaded up in that one area, and I left it twice, I think, to go find something different, and I shouldn't have left it at all. But that's part of fishing, and didn't take minnows. Probably could have caught another 1 or 2 maybe if I had minnows. Used hair jigs all day, and ended up with 12.51, I think. So
It's a good weight.
good weight. Fished. Me and my boy fished that tournament. 8 years old. I think he froze his butt off.
He had fun, though.
It was cold, but he stood up there, watched the live scope, and he was, Dad, we need that one. I was like, yeah, we need that one.
He knows the video game.
He knows what a good fish looks on there now, and yeah, he'd watch the jig go down, and he'd go, yeah, that one's gonna bite, that one's gonna bite. So he had fun, and but Truman's fishing good right now. It's a lot of big fish, a lot of good fish coming out of Truman. It's fun.
So, kind of random, I've noticed on photos that you post, on the color palette on your Garmin Live Scope, you go with like the greenish hue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's personal preference, but what is it about the greenish hue for you that makes you go with that?
I think it's whatever you want to look at.
Yeah.
Your eyes, yeah.
Yeah, I think
A lot of it.
everybody's eyes are a little different.
Mhm.
Whatever you want to
A
sit
lot
there
of
and
those
stare
graphs
at.
that comes with the normal, the brown like what we use.
Yeah.
That's what it's normally with. So no one probably ever changes it at all.
Mhm.
You know.
There's a
We
lot of
make
guys that never change
Yeah.
off the orange or
Amber.
amber.
Yeah.
Amber's what it's called.
Yeah,
Amber
okay.
hue. I've changed it to green, and ever since I started using green, I've never changed it.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those deals that.
I went through every color on mine. I think there's 10 colors, and
Mhm.
I'm right back to amber.
Yeah,
That's the one that I can see the
there's
best.
10 different colors, and then you can switch it to night mode, and that gives you another 10 different colors.
Yeah.
So,
It's cool.
I think
It's-
the most recent update, they just added
yeah, I think they've
3
added,
more color
I think they've
hues.
added
Yeah.
more colors.
Wow.
It's whatever your eyes.
Yeah.
get
You're
used
staring
to.
at the thing
Yeah.
the whole time,
Yeah.
so you better like it.
You're
You
right.
never take your eyes off of it.
You're staring at that and running into trees and boats.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want.
It's kind of funny
Yeah,
to watch people fish now, especially when there's a handful of them in one area.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because they're not paying attention to anything that's going on around them. They're
Chasing
so
that crap.
stuck to that
Yeah.
graph.
Yep.
It's funny.
I don't think the color has a
What-
whole lot to do with it.
What kind of advice do you guys have for folks that don't have live scope? This is a couple components to this question. A, can they tell on their graphs very easily that there's a fish nose tight to that tree? B, what do they need to do if they don't have live scope? What's the recommendation?
If it was me right now, I did not have a live scope, and you don't have the Humminbird 360, you can see them fish on that tree. You just can't tell how deep they are.
Yeah.
If you don't have neither one of them, go into the creek, get in 10 foot of water, and if this was bush light was the tree, run that bait
Sure.
right beside it, and if you don't get bit on this side, come to this side. I mean, right against it.
Mhm.
I don't mean, I've seen people when I was guiding a lot want to put that bait on the tree. I always put it out here and draw them out. I didn't realize how they really stuck their nose to that tree.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
They were on
Yeah. And if you don't donk them on the nose, you're not going to get they're not going to bite it. They're not going to chase that bait.
Mm-hmm.
Run it right down both sides of that tree, get in 10 foot of water, plumb out to 20 foot in a creek, and you'll catch fish.
Drop down fast, come up
Yes,
super
run it
slow.
flat, fast. They're not going to eat it on the fall,
Mhm.
what I've learned. It just pulls up real slow.
Mhm.
When it's coming up above them, a lot of days it's coming up real slow and they'll eat it. But I've learned too that you get their attention, they cock up with live scope, but
Mm-hmm.
start ripping it away from them.
Yeah.
And then, they got to make up, am I going to eat that or is it somebody else going to get it
Right.
or going to get away? Eat it.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
right against the structure and
Right.
keep on the move.
Yeah.
close as you can get to it.
So, I mean, is it certain times of the year that they get on the structure this tight? Does it happen all year at certain times, or is that really a fall, winter thing?
I've never
Or
seen
no rhyme or reason?
No, I've never seen them this tight to the trees ever. They're usually, there's limbs. They're
Mhm.
usually out here somewhere. These, and there's not a lot of fish per tree in the upper grain.
Yeah.
Now, if you go down the lake, you're probably going to see a lot more fish. I haven't been down there.
Mm-hmm.
As a rule, there's bigger schools down there, not as big fish. But these will have one or two fish, and they'll be, or if there's a V, the fish is right here.
Mm-hmm.
And the most, even with a live scope,
It's
it's
hard
hard
to
to.
see.
Mhm.
It's hard to see. And you
Even-
dip on.
And when you see them, it's hard to put it right on their nose. So you think you're close, but you might be on the wrong side or something. But, so as tight as you can get to that structure.
Mhm.
Mm. Okay.
The world's changed.
2020 was a very.
Well, it's like you said, you've never seen them that tight to a tree. Well, you've never been looking at them.
I have
You've caught them fish all your life.
with my 360, I could.
No, even before that.
Before that, yeah, I agree with you.
You've been doing this for 20
I
some years.
understand that. With my 360, I've never seen them stuck to a tree like that. This year, this lake fish is way different than I've ever seen it. They're
That's
not-
because you haven't seen it.
No. Usually you can pull up to a tree and catch 3 or 4 fish. You cannot do that now. Not too many trees.
We did the other day.
I think it's just you're seeing it now.
Nah, I don't.
You've done it for you've done it.
I've
for
never-
20. I've watched you do it.
I've never. Well, I've never run my bait beside a tree that close in my life.
But you've caught 45 every day for 20-some years.
But now then, if I was out here dropping that bait, I would not catch that fish.
But you never
Promise
fished
you.
up like you did now, you know.
No, I even now, I'm telling you.
I just think you're seeing it now, and it's something that you're seeing, and it's changed some of the things that you've done.
How you fished.
But you've been catching crappie for years that have done the exact same thing.
But
Probably don't change over a year.
No,
You know what I mean? They don't change
no,
over a year.
absolutely
Yeah,
not.
they do.
You used to went up Deepwater Creek. You used to go, still do. You go in there now and do it.
all right, let me ask you this: you've got it for crappie this summer. How many times could you go to them trees that we've always dipped in years past and go in there and catch them like we have?
Oh no,
Mm-mm.
no, it's
I
different.
guarantee.
I'm
you,
gonna
after that
I agree, it's a
flood
different
last
year. Yeah, because of
After
the
that
flood.
flood, something's happened to these.
I agree.
crappie.
It's
They're different.
different.
But we
But,
never seen the
but
lake
I'm
this
saying,
either.
I'm
That's
saying,
another point.
you
No, even before we got this.
catching these fish the way you're catching them now may not be the fish that you were catching 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The same time of year. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But you were still catching them.
I can catch them, but I'm just going to tell you right now. I pull up to that tree, and there's going to be 1 to 2 crappie in it from buck salt up, and I'm going to put that bait right here. I will not catch that crappie. Years past, I
You
would.
won't get a bite.
No, they will
No,
not.
they
even
won't budge
look
off
at
those trees
it.
anymore.
Guarantee it. Fish have changed in the last year. I promise you they have.
I agree.
because-
I
is it
agree.
because
The
the
fish
pressure?
have changed.
No, I don't think it's spread. I think something to do with that flood. I really
Okay.
do. Even going down the long show, where I could pull up, and Jeff's been down there many times. Him and I sit there in one cedar and get 45 crappie. You cannot do it. I had one day, real quick. Had one day this year. I had 4 people in the boat, or 3 people beside me. We need 60 crappie. I pull up the first tree, and it looked like a Christmas tree, all bulbs on it. Holy, and they're all good ones. I can tell. And as I pull up beside it with a boat, so we're all gonna dip it. And no, I'm not watching the live scope because I pulled up past it. We're dipping like old times, and we catch a bunch of fish. And as I'm fishing this, and I've already got the next one. I fished 5 trees, 60 fish at like 8:20, and I couldn't wait to get back the next day on my next trip. Thinking I'm gonna go there, boom, done by 9 o'clock. Went back the next day, probably 8 of them fish were in them trees. Went back the next day, and it was one here, one there, one there, one there. And it's been like that ever since.
So the school moved.
Well, where'd they go? They're not in schools now. They're at singles.
So they broke. The school broke
And I
up.
cannot find schools. I can show you a million crappie tomorrow,
Huh.
but I ain't gonna show you 50 crappie on that tree. It's different. I'm telling you, it's different.
I agree. Not that the fish have changed, but I agree the fishing has changed after the flood, and I think it's across the board.
Friday. We
Crappie fishing's
thousands
changed,
of fish, but none of them.
catfishing's
Catfish,
changed,
no more.
bass fishing.
No
Mhm.
big
You know,
groups.
These tournament weights, all this year on bass fishing, everybody's like, oh, the bass fishing's getting better and better and better. It is, but how to do it in 1 year?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pretty wild.
Wow.
Grouped up
Um,
fishing.
Richard, I just giving you a time.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'm watching.
Okay.
But there's no way in 1 year that we went from in a bass tournament, a guy cutting a check with 12 pounds or whatever, or 11 pounds, and in 1 year now it takes 23 to win in August.
No, that's several years that
It's
goes
a
on to be able to
whole
get there.
And so it's not, it's the fishing has changed. Now, I don't know if the fish habits have changed, but the fishing has changed since the flood.
Yep.
Because you can't get those weights in 1 year. You know, these crappie are doing stuff different. Catfishing, I think we lost a lot of catfish last year. When you take a lake in 56,000 acres and you take it to 250,000 acres and then you run it back to 56,000 acres, put a bunch of minnows in a bucket, fill it up, pour it out, you got half of what you had in. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same deal.
Yeah.
And so I think it's changed.
Yeah.
And it'll get better.
Numbers are good.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying we don't have the numbers of crappie. We got more crappie now we've ever had. They're more healthy than they've ever been. You can see 1 million crappie a day, but I just cannot pull up to that tree, big cedar that should be loaded, 2 and 3 fish in it. I mean, they might be open water, one here, one there, but it's nothing like it used to be.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
It makes it a pain in the rear. Because I don't live scope.
Right.
I have live sight. but it's not near what live scope is.
Mhm.
And so, I'm still old time fishing ways, and where we used to go catch them on,
Mhm.
you get on a fence road and you run through and you catch 22, and then you go hit another spot and
Done
finish
at
out.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, it ain't like that.
Mm.
Now you two here,
But
one
we
there,
still
two
got
here.
the
Yeah.
numbers.
There's
Still
still,
got the numbers.
still thousands. I mean, I've fished, there's 56,000 acres and you could fish, 200 yards and see thousands of fish, but they're just not grouped up.
No.
Hmm.
If you see three fish on-
fish, and then you might see a tree with a limb and it might have 4 or 5 fish in it, and then
If you see 3 right now on a tree, that's quite a few.
I think we caught 3 off one tree the other day.
I think we had 2.
But the original question, if you don't have live scope,
Yeah,
what do you do?
Yeah.
Tight to
You do the
instructions.
same thing that you've been doing for 20 years,
Yeah.
but like they
Like
said,
you said,
tied to the tree.
Tie to the tree and go, go, go.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, you
don't
gotta
wait.
fish more trees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fish.
Cover
But
more ground.
My guys on Fridays like, what would you do if you didn't have live scope? And I was like, you start here and you go back there and you fish every tree as
Yeah.
fast as you can.
Yeah,
And he goes, that's what we'll do the
Yeah,
next
2
few
seconds
days.
in the trees.
right.
30
That's all I can
seconds.
tell you to do is getting them creeks 10 to 14 foot of water basically, and a lot of them are about 6 foot down, and you just go, 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 go as fast as you can.
I was gonna say, that's the main thing isn't it, is knowing the depth. Okay, they're 4 to 6, or
Mhm.
they're 5 to 7, or whatever it is,
Right.
and you hit those trees, and it's their presentation to that depth, and go on.
Yeah.
You're in the
It was-
strike zone
Yeah.
longer,
Right.
more efficient.
Most
Right,
of them
or
fish
10
are
foot.
4 to 6 foot deep right now.
And some of them's 2 feet
Yeah.
down. Some of them's 1 foot down.
Yeah.
And does it depend on the depth? Is it 15 foot, 4 to 6 over 15, or it doesn't?
But
We caught some fish the other day, and I use that sinker a lot, and I'm on my last guide trip, which was on Friday. It's about 5 inches above it.
Mhm.
The sinker, you could actually see it in the water.
Mhm.
And that's how, and them fish didn't follow it up, that's where they're sitting.
yeah, that,
You know, not all of them, but, pull up that, holy moly, look at that big fish sitting right here. So you can't scare that fish,
Right.
so you ease it in, let that minnow come around to it.
Uh-huh.
And then when he cocks up, when you catch him, he's already in the boat. He's that shallow.
That's crazy.
Holy cow.
It's unbelievable. But most of them is 6 foot down. Let out 10-foot line, don't let out more line than that.
Yeah.
If you're in the upper grade.
Yeah, I remember we were,
my guy had 11-foot pole and he had like 10 foot of water, or 10 foot of line, and I'm like, reel it up. You keep dropping past them.
I remember this time last year, we'd be midway up from Bucksaw, and you would turn to a tree and you'd have fish just barely under the surface.
Mhm.
And they were good crappie. The last couple months when you seen them, they were all white bass. Now the white bass are gone and the crappie took over that spot.
We caught some like that.
And you can cast to those fish
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You can cast those fish 20 feet out or 25 feet out, cast and come by them. And a lot of guys did that at Table Rock this past weekend at the Crappie Expo. I think Eric Cagle won the national championship in Louisiana with casting a little 6-footer.
Eric Cagle.
What's the
cast
what's the
everywhere he
size?
goes.
What's the
You don't do
size
much
of
longer.
bait whenever you're casting like that?
Depends on who you ask.
That depends on the depth.
And it also probably depends on whether it's a windy day or
Yeah.
Oh,
And how
yeah.
deep they are too.
Yeah.
It's like I talked with Cagle after the classic, and I thought about maybe trying to try it out, especially in Lake of the Ozarks when those fish aren't holding to them docks. And I was like, what size head are you throwing? And he goes, I'll throw a 32nd to a 16th. He goes, but if those fish are really, really shallow, like in Grenada in the spring, he'll throw a 1/24th because it has such a slow fall rate, and those fish are a foot and a half below the surface. And he's probably one of the best cast and drag guys in the tournament circuit right now.
Him and Carlisle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carlisle does a lot of casting too.
Carlisle's unreal to watch him fish.
Yep.
Pound 4 carbon.
I think some of them guys are using a 1/64 on Table Rock
Okay. Oh, I believe it.
on them docks.
Oh, I
Shooting
believe
them
it.
docks.
Some of that on that anyway. Some
Great.
Shifting gears.
Cut him up and use him for bait.
Yeah. Catfish. So you've been getting after the old catfish here the last
Yeah.
couple weeks, and it seems like it's really picking up. What's What are you finding? What do you expect? What do you?
Mostly just live scoping one here and one there. No, man. Water temperature's falling. Anytime it gets to that 50 mark, these fish put on the feed bags for sure, and they're starting to get fat. And you can catch them just about every way you can catch a catfish.
Yeah.
You can catch fish deep on the ledge. You can catch fish up shallow. The fish are slowing down, but the fishing's not. I've anchored up, caught some fish in 18 to 22 feet of water. I don't like to catch them that way because sometimes pulling them that deep, this time of year, if it's a slot fish or whatever, you got to burp them. A lot of people don't know how to burp catfish, but say they will die. We've been catching a lot of fish shallow. I'm primarily probably known for shallow water catfish, and that's what I do 99.6% of the time. We've caught everywhere from 40 to 60 fish a day all last week in the rain, snow, wind, everything else. It was terrible. I'm sick and tired of it. This week's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
All my fish came out of 2.8 feet.
Wow.
I was telling the guys one day I was in so shallow, the wind was blowing there, big wind. The wind was blowing in there. We went in there, we just wore them flat slick, and the wind changed about an hour before we left, and we about didn't get out.
Oh.
Normally you're not tide fishing on Truman, but we about didn't get out. And I'm getting that big white boat in so skinny, I only put half tank of fuel in. I don't even fill my boat up. I put enough in for the day, and I don't put anything in the live wells.
Yeah.
Nothing. I keep everything very light. I've taken everything out of my boat except life jackets and necessities. And so I'm getting into some skinny stuff. If you like to fish from the bank, all you people that subscribe that don't have a boat, and it's a question I get a bunch. If you want to catch catfish, this is the time of year to catch catfish from the shore because you can do it in shallow water anywhere that's on a flat. So my Knisley's Landing is super fantastic when the wind's blowing out of the northeast. That's a great spot to fish. Sparrowfoot Swim Beach is a good spot to fish. All these little places that you can get down to a flat area. It does not have to be deep water. But get where the wind's blowing on and wear them out.
Yeah.
Wear them out.
Fresh cut shad though.
Shad, yeah. We've been using shad. We've been running some whole baits as well. Catching some bigger fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody had mentioned to me that he'd been downsizing the chunks of shad that he'd been using here lately and having a little more success over in the area that he fishes.
Most of the year I catch those 8 to 10 inch shad and I cut them into chunks. I've actually been throwing those big shad back and keeping the 3 and 4 inchers and running them whole. So I've downsized my baits as well, but I'm not using the chunks.
Yeah. Okay. Grand Arm, I know you like to stay in.
Grand Arm's good. I've been on all 3 actually. I've been on Tebow, the Osage, and the Grand Arm. All 3 of them are fishing the same right now.
Okay.
You gotta be super careful, man. I've been on this lake. I've put more miles on this lake than I have on a vehicle in my lifetime. And I'm telling you, there's stuff out there that even the guys that were here before the lake went in and all this yada yada yada, there's stuff there you don't know about. I guarantee it, 100%. And the lake got to the lowest level it's been since the 3rd year it flooded. And you gotta be careful, dude. I've seen people hitting stuff and running their boats aground. It's not so much the stumps right now, but Dave, it's running aground. I was on the Osage the other day, and a guy come down through there, and you can only yell so loud and wave your hands so much, and man, this guy nearly threw him out of the boat. The guy at the console was all the way up over the windshield on an aluminum boat.
Oh my gosh.
And it was bad. I think Brian Thomas hit something pretty good the other day. And I guess it spun him around a few times real bad. I mean, that guy knows the lake like the back of his hand, runs it all the time.
He doesn't follow the channel very
But
good, though.
yeah,
I'm following you. I was like,
but you gotta be careful, and especially if you're gonna chase these shallow fish like I'm chasing, you'll tear some stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah. So finding shad,
Easy
backs
peasy.
of the pockets right now.
You can catch them in the main channel. They're suspended out in the main channel. They're about 8 foot down. You can catch them like in one big throw out there. I throw a pretty good sized net. Normally this time of year I would downsize actually. I throw an 8 to 10 footer most of the year, but now I'll go to like a 5 or a 7 footer. because you catch so many in one throw and I don't need to kill them.
Right.
But they're a little bit deeper. You can order nets that have taped. This is kind of a little secret deal, but you can order nets that have a ribbon around the inside near the weights, or you can just take Gorilla Tape and sandwich it on your existing net all the way around just above the weights. And what it does when you throw that net, it'll keep that, when you throw a shad net, as it starts to sink, it's closing the whole time. But if you sandwich that Gorilla Tape around the inside above the weights right there, it creates enough resistance that it'll go down deeper before it starts. It doesn't close as fast, so you can catch those deeper baits.
Okay.
And so add a little rope to your line. But yeah, there's plenty of shad.
Yeah.
The shad on this lake is what makes it what it is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting little tip. So I'm sure a lot of folks have not heard of that or even thought about it.
Fill the freezer right now. It's unreal. I don't clean over 20 a day. I did let some people keep 30 one day, but that's because they were cleaning fish, not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter how many people we have in the boat, we'll keep 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might catch 60, but we'll...
A lot of good eaters. You're catching slot fish. You've had a couple of big overs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, one day early this week we had 3 big overs in one day, and then mostly you catch 1 or 2 big overs and a dozen slots, big slots, 31, 32 inch fish. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now we're gonna have nice weather.
Yeah.
Now that I've fished. The other day, the snow was this deep in my boat the day that it snowed. I mean, I had one guy. I take the guy the same days every year, and he travels, so, we were going to fish. And the snow was like this deep. So we pulled the back seats out and was sitting on the edge of the live well because we both had muck boots on, and rods would lay down, and we're moving so fast, it was slick, so we like trying to stay in one place, we'd pile up the snow and have a little circle to stand in. And then as long as you just didn't move out of that circle, you're pretty good. But if you tried to get up and move around, it was just so slick, so nasty.
Yeah.
I hate it. It's stupid.
That's kind of wild. It was pretty cool getting trail camera pictures of the snow in October.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the first snow I remember in October in a while.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I did.
It's cool photos. I've saved the photos just for proof.
It's not.
It's a great time to be catfishing, and,
Yeah.
and it's finally starting to show some big fish.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, let's talk some largemouth bass.
Hey, how about that?
For the bass guys that have been watching, waiting, when are they going to talk about bass? Well, we're going to talk about it right now. So, Hunter and David both do a lot of bass fishing. David is getting ready. Are you fishing the Anglers in Action?
I'm not.
Okay. David, you're fishing that, right?
I am.
Next weekend.
I am.
What's skinny? What's going on?
All right, here's the scoop. So there's several things that's going to be going on, and the first thing I'm going to do is check creeks. So I'm thinking we've had this cold weather. The water temperature, I haven't been on the water, but I'm guessing it's maybe mid 50s.
Yeah.
And so usually when it gets to mid 50s,
Yeah.
they bite like crazy. I've got to get out there and look some because I actually just delivered my boat that I was running this year today to its new owners. So I'll be fishing out of my team partner's boat, kind of getting a look at what's going on. So I really like the Osage this time of year. I'm going to go look at creeks, and then if that doesn't pan out, I'm going to look at mainland flats. I like the big palmy as well, and everybody who knows me knows I love the big palmy. But typically there's a crossover, and when I mentioned that earlier, so there's several different things going on. You've got creek fish biting, but I tend to go look for the bigger ones, and I think those bigger fish set up in trees. They may be in creeks, but they're not on the bank. They're out. I'm looking for where the shad are. I don't care too much this time of year about those thread fins, those 2-inch, 3-inch thread fins. I'm looking for hand-sized gizzards. I want those big gizzards because those big fish put it on the feed bag. I mean, you may only get 5 to 8 bites a day. They're all big ones. They're all 4 to 6 pounders. So the baits of choice. Large black market balsa. 1 ounce spinnerbait.
Big blade.
big blade.
Thump thump.
I personally like to go with an 8 and a 5 willow leaf. I'm a willow leaf guy. I don't start throwing the number 8 Colorado until 49ish, 51ish. So that water temperature right in there. Because when you think on Truman, when you think it's time to throw a jerkbait,
It was cold Friday morning.
you need to be still throwing that big spin because that big spinnerbait will catch them. On the front side, trying to warm up, 49, I know this sounds cliche, but 49 is colder than 49 on the backside. When it's cooling down, when we're going from summertime into fall into peaking at winter, 49 in the fall they are still a lot more active than what they are 49 in the spring. And you have got to feed them what they want. I mean, I've heard stories and stories over the years about how I'm off doing something else, and it's a nasty day in the third week of November, and I know the water temperature's probably 48 to 51, and I'm like, they're probably not biting too good. And then all of a sudden, a guy's like, you see all these posts, and it's like, oh, we caught these great big giants, on a spinnerbait in 2 foot of water. So you just have to go and you have to try. I mean, the arms that are in play are all the arms. I mean, the Tebow, the Grand, the Osage, the Palmy, the little Tebow, the little Palmy. I mean, I'm thinking that you have equal opportunity this time of year. You just have to find where the bite is.
It's hard to get people to take that too. I get, I'm sure we all do. You get messages constantly like, "Hey," it's usually the same old. It's like, "Hey, I haven't been in a month. Where's a good place to go?" Yeah, taking so and so. They've been out.
Right.
Blah blah. And I tell them, I'm like, "Man, I've been on every arm, and it's good." And I'm sure that they look at that and like, "Yeah, well, thanks."
Thanks for nothing. The whole lake is great.
Right.
Oh, thanks.
I'm not lying. I would tell you if it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to get when you say that all the arms are good.
Yeah.
That's a big statement, and most people are gonna call bullcrap.
Right.
And like, it's true.
Yeah.
It is, and you just have to put forth the sweat equity to be able to hunt them down and find out
Last 2 tournaments.
because maybe the fish in the Tebow aren't doing what they are in the Grand, but they're still biting.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. The creek fish are biting in the Grand, and the main lake flatfish are biting in the Tebow, or opposite, and it's just I always try to sample every arm, and then make my decision on, like, if I'm prepping for a tournament, I make my decision on the last few days that I've practiced. Okay, there's 2 1/4 size average biting in this arm. There's 3 1/4 size average biting in this arm. There's 2 pound average biting in this arm. And then let your weather dictate where you go. Okay, so it's a cloudy, overcast day. I'm going to fish the cleanest water that I have available to me. And if that happens to land on, that in practice it was 2 1/4 pound average, that's going to give you a baseline. That's not telling you what you're going to catch, because on the cloudy day, in that cleaner water, those big ones might bite. So you might catch 3 4 pounders, and a couple of line burners, or you may catch better than that. It just depends on the wind, number one, because typically
Wind sucks.
mid-October through mid-November, it's gonna blow. I mean, it's gonna blow 30.
Especially this coming week.
It's already.
And we're gonna have, for all these guys watching for the Anglers in Action Championship that's coming, we've got great warm weather. Well, guess what comes with warm weather this time of year?
South wind.
Boom. And it's not going to blow 5 miles an hour. It's going to blow 35. So lots of times that blows out places, especially at 7:04:30. There's not much water on that flat. You get a direct wind on it. all of a sudden it is churned up chocolate milk. It's the fish, the water quality is terrible. So then you have to find some different areas, you know. So I hate to say it, but it's you just gotta fish. You gotta put the trolling motor down, and you just gotta have 15 rods on the deck, and not 15, but close to it. And you gotta sample. You gotta sample whether they want that spin, whether they want the balsa, or they want a top water, or very rarely this time of year do I pick up a jig and flip it. But I can remember several times that's been the thing. That's probably the last thing on my menu list. But because I wind, I stand on it. I love to make them bite. Sometimes,
When it's cold, you gotta cast a lot. Stay warm.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Repetition. Well, I do know, because I talked to Dave McCormick yesterday, and he saw 53, 54 degrees. He was fishing the palmy.
Okay.
Put in a shiny bin, ran up the palmy.
Yeah.
So it is getting down into what you were talking about, the prime range, when they start to bite. He was throwing your bait, the big one,
Yep.
juicy fruit, and that's what he caught all his keepers on in less than 3 feet of water. So, but he did say that they were all relating to some kind of wood. So
Probably horizontal.
yeah,
Probably lay downs.
Yeah.
Probably horizontal wood. It's that typical deal.
yeah.
So I would
Don't they
get
suspend like in cedar tops this time of year?
Come on with it. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Them great big ones.
yeah,
Them
like,
great big ones like to do that.
yeah, that's kind of what I was. I'm not a
Oh.
huge bass guy, but I used to fish some tournaments.
Man,
Yeah.
that's
Sell more baits.
Lizards used to be big, and
Yeah.
you'd take the stupid lizards with a lighter weight in those treetops, those
Yeah.
cedar tops, man, and just come through there just nice and easy.
Mhm.
Rod just load up.
usually it's got to have something flashing
Mm-hmm.
or something wiggling for me to throw it through the top.
Yeah. Hunter, you fish the Grand Arm a lot for
Yep.
bass. I mean, same stuff that he's talking about. Anything that you'd add to that?
I had a guy message me, I think it's been a week or 2 weeks ago. He messaged me and he asked me, hey Hunter, I seen you on Truman about bass fishing. I said, well, go up the Grand, throw a spinnerbait in the creeks and maybe throw a jig around. They messaged me later on and said, hey, we caught quite a few bass, we had a good time. So that's what they threw, just a spinnerbait in the creeks and jigs a little bit, and they caught pretty good fish.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good to know. One species we haven't talked about yet is the white bass and the hybrids, which has been like the thing for the last several weeks. Although it sounds like here in the last week it kind of changed a little bit, where they stopped being shallow. Yeah, because didn't you run down and try to go after him?
Yeah, I took a fellow from Kansas City, a Royals player, Frank White.
Oh yeah.
Go every year and catch the heck out of it. Cold front come in, and of course had that sleet and stuff. Water cooled off 5 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to Steve Blake, which has been on them, Bob Bates, and Steve said, man, we didn't do good yesterday at all. Oh man,
Yeah.
we never caught one white bass.
Wow.
Is that right?
None.
Whoa.
I fished every windy point. I mean, windy
Right.
points is
Right.
easy. I mean, just throw anything
Right.
at me, go catch them. And then I went to road beds. I went to humps. I even had Bob Bates come out. Great guy on the lake for hybrids and whites. He said, I heard you, and then I had a guy out crappie fishing the day before down there chasing as well. And he said, I heard you guys can't find them. I said, I can't find them. I can't even side skin them or live scope.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried. He said, I'll find them. And about 3 hours later, he said, keep your phone on. 3 hours later, phone rang. I can't find them. I said, good, because I'm going on. They got real windy. But then the water warmed back up. And Steve, he told me, he said, tomorrow they're going to bite because they got warm again on Friday. He said, they'll bite tomorrow afternoon, and they caught them. But man, them 2 days there, no.
The water dropped too fast for them.
It went from, I don't remember what it was down there, but 5 degrees overnight, boom,
Yeah.
like that, and it just shocked them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fished a lot of bait. And usually, I
And
got
the
some
wind
bait.
was blowing good.
Oh. Yeah, I got washed on the bank. But usually, if there's any
Flat
wind blowing on
gravel.
that bank,
Throw it on that
man,
flat
you're gonna
gravel.
catch it.
Yeah.
Jeff's been down there, he
Really
knows
is.
every cast. But I had probably hit 8 banks, good banks. And
Dang.
boring as it could be.
Mm.
I said, boys, if I'd took you crappie fishing, we'd have caught some fish. I told you.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't go the second day. I took a guy crappie fishing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was terrible. But now then they're catching a bunch of them.
Mm.
And they're not catching as many as they will tomorrow or this week because it's going to get warm.
Yeah, and it's gonna blow.
But it's been homes and road
Yep.
beds
Yep.
in about 12 to 15 foot of water.
That's what he had been telling me.
See, today it blew out of the northwest.
Yep.
Isn't that right?
Mhm.
I bet you they bit some today.
Yeah, the water warmed back up a little bit on Friday. Steve had his limit or two of whites and crappie as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I missed it by 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go deer hunting, so.
Yeah. So for the bass guys, moral of the story is they probably shouldn't be surprised if they get whacked by a hybrid potentially. You know?
Absolutely not. You
Yeah.
know, you're gonna throw your spinnerbait. You're gonna throw your black market balsa around some horizontal wood, or even next to a standing cedar or a leaning cedar. Throw by a leaning cedar.
See what you get.
Please throw by a leaning cedar
Yeah.
and see what happens.
Yeah.
No, that big hybrid
Mm-hmm.
will want to take your stuff away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you got good line and heavy line.
That was the flood last year. Those big hybrids got on the riprap up by the bridges.
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of them.
Dude,
Oh.
like 10 pounders over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
No.
Where are you at? Where are you
It's
slick?
fun.
It was the dangest thing I
Yeah.
ever did see. I'm not a big hybrid guy.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah.
They were on that riprap up there along 13 Highway, and it's not really a good typical place for
Right.
hybrid fishing.
Right.
But in that flood, it was dumb.
Well, Dave McCormick had one yesterday. I think he had multiple, but he kept one just to show when we did some video. And I know the Missouri Bass Federation State Championship. I heard some guys getting into them.
Oh, yeah.
And then I covered the Lady Bass Anglers tournament I think that was last weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of them thought they had their winning fish on the line and pulled in a 5-6 pound hybrid.
Nice.
So
That weather stunk for that deal, right?
that day on Saturday, so in the Missouri Bass Federation, there was 140 some odd boats. I think only 7 of them, when I saw the first day results, had over 10 pounds. And I think the highest was 15 or 16. So yeah, that's a tough day for that many boats. And the Lady Bass Anglers, I don't think eclipsed 10 pounds. So I think it was just under 10 pounds that won it. Yeah, that was a horrible, horrible day. So anyway.
I had the fortunate or unfortunate circumstances to be at Table Rock fishing that regional. And after the first day, there was 170 boats in. After the first day, 13 and change is leading. And you know, it was awful. It really was. You know, I ended up catching like almost 5 pounds the first day. Caught 10 and a half the second day, and got the prize of being 1 ounce short of getting the last place check.
Oh.
But that's how it
Sounds
goes.
like you, Hunter.
Yeah, I'm good at it. There.
Used to that spot.
I'm good at it.
There wasn't any kind of brownfish bite down there this time of
Oh
year?
my gosh, I caught 3 brownies the second day, and I was spooning docks.
Yeah.
My biggest one was 3 3/4.
I was gonna say you get in that late October,
Yeah.
mid-October to mid-November, that brownfish bite down there.
Yeah,
Whoa.
absolutely. And the second day of the tournament started out at 65 degrees, and we ended at 42.
Ugh.
So I was thinking, and I stayed down for a long time trying to fish that gravel down there, thinking that those brownies are gonna bite. And I was like, I gotta abandon this. I gotta go throw a spoon on a dock and try to catch some.
I can tell you there wasn't hardly anybody on the lake this week until about Friday. I was on that O stage and it was an eerie feeling there for 2 days. I didn't see nobody. I thought,
Nobody
man,
around.
Yeah.
we run into trouble over here.
Yeah.
We in trouble.
Yeah.
'Cause it's cold and nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And sketchy cell service.
Yeah. Extremely. So we're coming up on an hour, so it's a good time to wrap up. I do want to kind of finish. So we kind of talked about what we expect on bass, crappie and catfish real quick. What patterns we talked about, what's been happening, what do we expect here over the next month of November to go on with those two things? Is it going to stay similar? What's going to start happening?
Stay in the creeks,
Stay in the
crappie,
Okay.
you know, 8 to 10 foot of water or more, up to 14, 15 foot, and tight to structure.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good bite.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan, like we were talking about, he was talking about when the water's going from warm to cold,
Mm-hmm.
and then cold back to warm. So like going warm to cold, when it hits that 50 mark, it's not going to change. Once it gets below that, you're not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 50, whether it's 43, whether it's 38, whatever it is, it's not going to change. It's going to be the same. It's the same deal going back the other way. It'll be the same all the way up till it hits 50. And when it gets over that, things start changing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be pretty typical.
Yeah.
You know, 50 is just kind of that good number where
Yeah.
once it hits that, game on. Don't change it. Stick with it. Keep
Yeah.
doing it over and over and over and over again. We're not going to get any rain for a while, maybe 2 weeks out or something. The weatherman is awful.
Yeah.
But I can tell you there is some fish biting in these creeks. I'm not a kayak fan. There's a lot of guys out there that are. I think everyone needs a go-kart flag.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them about to get run over on a windy day. But if you're a kayak guy, put your life jacket on, get in these creeks and ditches right
Yeah.
now. There's some crappie to be had up in some of these creeks.
Well-
I'm here to tell you the kayak championship that they're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
If they do some research, some of these creeks that are landlocked right now
Mhm.
because of the lake level, they're a fool if they don't go and look at those creeks
Mhm.
because they can win out of those creeks.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
The crappie bites in them now. It's real good.
Mm.
If you can get a boat in.
Yeah. Well, I know Blake and Rick had a jet boat when they wanted
Oh,
to
yeah.
get bass, so they
Oh,
were able to get up pretty shallow.
That's right.
So if you get a jet boat, that might be the ticket on getting up there real shallow. So
Or a big white one with a hydraulic jack plate. Half tank fuel.
yeah.
It'll go.
Yeah, there you go. Did anybody have anything else any final thoughts? I think we covered it all pretty darn good.
I'm fixing to smash some mallard ducks in the face
I was about to say,
every day
yeah,
for 60 days in a
I
row.
was gonna say that was one thing I probably should announce, that we might not see a lot of Jeff Falconberry on Truman Lake Fishing and Tell, other than sharing some duck photos, because he's
Yeah.
gonna be in the woods whacking
We will be
the heck out of
fishing.
those things.
I'm sure a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is time,
Mm-hmm.
and it is going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have some photos of the limits upon limits that we know you're gonna get after. So.
For the first couple of weeks, and then it'll be 80 degrees the rest of December. The same ducks I've looked at every day. Got to name them all.
Yep. Well, appreciate everybody being here, as always. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any topics in the future, any questions, anything specific that you want us to try to cover, write into the website, get on our Facebook page, get on these guys' Facebook pages, ask them, and we'll bring that up in these videos, and we'll go into detail on it. So just keep that in mind. We're all easy to get a hold of, and TrumanLakeFishingIntel.com. Just send us a contact message, and we'll get it. So we've already been compiling some questions that were more wintertime questions that we'll cover here as we get into December and January. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned to the website. We're trying to have a ton of fishing reports every single week, videos, all kinds of good stuff. So really excited here for just the next 12 months, all the stuff we're going to be doing. Once again, Jeff Falconberry, Endless Season Guide Service,
Yep.
Catfish Crappie Slayer, soon to be Duck Slayer.
Soon to be duck killing.
Yep.
And you're going to find a lot of my information will be on the Truman Lake. If you've watched my social media, it's tapered a little bit. Of course, this is a subscription. There's some free membership now, but this is a subscription type deal. And that's how we make our living is
Right.
fishing information, whether we're guiding a trip or putting that information out there. And with you doing subscription and handling us the way you do, my free information is going to dwindle.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find my information on sites like Truman Lake Fishing Intel, and my Facebook be for my grandkids.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it a ton, and I'm obviously going to work my butt off for all of you guys to make sure that we know who the primo names are on Truman Lake. So, Jeff Falconberry's the man. Richard Bowling's Guide Service. He's going to be doing crappie trips all winter long out of his Phoenix. And Hunter Bowling, you're going to be doing some crappie trips as well.
Help when I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Will you be doing much bass fishing over the winter
A
time?
little bit, it'll be mainly crappie. Then crappie,
Okay.
Dad gets a lot of trips through the winter time, and
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. David Townsend, just another crappie bait company, and owns Nini's Italian Restaurant with his wife. They help sponsor these dinners. Super appreciative of them. He also does some crappie guiding, helps with Hope Outdoors. But you can get a hold of him for a trip as well. And Nini's Italian Restaurant, Warsaw, Missouri. Great food in the restaurant. They also do a ton of catering. It was a great dinner
absolutely.
tonight.
Great food.
And you'll cater all over the place.
Yeah, we've done catering all the way up to almost Higginsville, down to Springfield, areas throughout Kansas, and everywhere in between.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all the equipment that can keep food, and you guys seen tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
those Cambros will keep food at serving temperature for 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're willing to go wherever. If you're interested, just look us up at Nini's Italian Steakhouse, or you can look me up on my personal Facebook page.
And you can find all their information at TrumanLakeFishingIntel.com. So definitely get out there and support them. We appreciate them a ton. Dylan Stocking, Get Outdoors Guide Service, crappie fishing extraordinaire as well. And he's going full-time on the lake here at the end of November, so be sure to look him up and book a trip with him, because he's going to get booked up real fast. So Dylan Stocking, and then David Ryan, the man, the myth. Dave's Custom Baits makes these handmade, hand-painted, custom balsa baits, and they flat out catch the fish. And bass, hybrids, I've caught actually quite a few crappie in my lake that have ambushed the hell
No
out of
kidding.
them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it is a multi-species catching machine, and Dave's awesome bass fisherman. We love having him as part of TrumanLakeFishingIntel.com. We appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to share with your friends and family what we're doing here, the information that we're putting out. Have them come check us out and join. And we'll look forward to keep doing this for you, and we're looking forward to the next one. Thanks a bunch, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks a bunch for watching. We'll see you on the next one.